Hello everybody, welcome to Short Shot Archery. Anthony here, and in this video I'm going to share with you my experience shooting the Novaery Archery Aestus riser. They actually make two risers. This is the Aestus, it's the formula version. They also make an ILF version that's called the Vega. Really cool riser, 100% made in Germany, 25-inch riser. This one, of course, for me is right-handed. And yeah, I'm going to get into my experience with it and share with you my thoughts on it. Before we really get started here, I just want to make it clear, I was given this bow as a demo. I am not keeping it. I was not paid to make this video. I was just sent a bow to test it out. And I would actually like to thank my friend Rue for kind of setting all this up and getting into the works. It was, in my mind, I think it was like a couple-year process to get everything going. Because yeah, well, I've never heard about Novaery in the United States, so I'm bringing this to you now. So let's start off with some background and the basics, of this riser. So Novaery Archery, based out of Germany, rocket science for archery. It's ran by rocket engineers that I think, from my understanding, do this in like their spare time. I don't know if it's a full-time gig, but regardless, they do a very good job at designing risers in my experience. So what they do is they take the principles of aerospace and they've applied it to archery, bringing about some really interesting, designs and adjustments for a riser. And I'll be getting into those. They have their own flat system, and the flat system is a form locking alignment technology, and that's how you get the acronym FLAT. And it all has to do with the limb pockets on the top and bottom of the bow, and just the amount of adjustment they manage to pack into them to give you basically the ultimate adjustability. From what I've seen, kind of makes some of the other companies look very basic in terms of adjustments. The riser itself is made out of 70-75 aluminum. Again, 25-inch. This one's right-handed because I'm right-handed. I am shooting the formula version, but they do make an ILF version. Slightly heavier. This one in the formula configuration is about like 2.8 pounds. I think it's 1,250 grams. And the ILF version is ever so slightly higher, like 0.1 pounds heavier, and then I think it's like 50 grams heavier. But you might not even be able to tell at that point. So not too much of a difference there, and I would think that performance-wise they both shoot fairly similar, unless you're, just depends on if you prefer formula limbs over ILF limbs. Another interesting thing is the grip on this bow. They make a whole bunch of different styles. This is a very low wrist. You got much higher wrists, and they're all made in-house on an SLS 3D printer. So they're actually taking a powder and they're using a laser to actually make this a solid piece. Pretty neat, and you can get some really unique forms because you don't have to worry about adding in structure to support overhangs and stuff like that, like you do with normal FDM 3D printing. Because they're using this powder, they can build layers, so you can literally have things that kind of float and are attached from above, and you don't have to worry about trying to make a lattice inside to try to hold things up or have removable material. You get a much cleaner product, and it's pretty good for grips. So I'll get into my experience with the 3 grips they sent me. I'll also be including information in the description down below to their website, and that way you can check out their demo program. You can check out the really well illustrated and very detailed descriptions of their flat system. I'm going to do a fairly simplistic overview of it, but they really show you the bits and bolts of the whole system, how it works, and how you can get the most adjustment out of it. But yeah, I'm gonna go over it a little bit, but they definitely do it full justice on their website. One last thing before I go into my experience with this, they also make stabilizers and sight pins, which I think is really interesting as well. I have not tried either. This bow I've been shooting with my Shibuya sight, my Excel sight pin, and my Shrewd stabilizers, because I took them right off of my everyday bow, which is a Hoyt Exceed. So that way, I could try to keep as many things the same as possible without introducing like all these new variables, so I could try to get the best feel possible for this riser. All right, so now let's get into the look of the bow, because we all know the look and the color of the bow are probably 90% of its performance. Looks wise, I think this is a very good looking bow. I like the cutouts. I like how there's not too many. We don't have like huge holes where it's like, is this really gonna support itself? Are we gonna have a structural problem here? I don't get that feeling. They got all the nice triangles, very well engineered in my opinion. I also enjoy the really cool cutout in the back here. That's pretty neat. I don't know if I've seen that on other risers, so that's another really interesting look. And just overall, I think it's a pretty attractive riser. You can get all of the components, like the ones you see in black. You can get those in colors. You can get the riser in different colors as well. So a pretty large amount of adjustability. And because it's 100% made in Germany, the components are made out of aluminum, besides where you screw in your stabilizer. But everything's made out of the same grade of aluminum, so it all colors. When it gets anodized, it all anodizes very nicely. As for the finish, it's really nice, nice and smooth. They do quite a solid job on the finishing. Some of it probably has to do with like the actual, the milling process, and then, smoothing all of that out. From my understanding, they put some time and effort into that, and you're getting a nice. It feels good. It feels good, and it really adds to just the bow itself. You don't feel like you're getting something that's cheap. Time and effort and like love was put into designing and making this, and that's important, especially since it is on the high end side compared to some of the other risers. But again, as the saying goes, you get what you pay for, unless it's a Sure Shot archery product. All right, now on to grips. I personally prefer a very low grip. I need as much of my hand and my wrist down on that grip as possible, because I have found out over the 20 plus years of shooting archery that I have a really big tendency to slide, and Novaery actually makes a really nice grip for that. But if you're one of those higher grip shooters, they make a nice medium and high grip, so you have a lot of adjustability. There may be more beyond this too. They even have a Steve Weiler edition for grips. Their bows also accept aftermarket grips. I actually put my usual grip, my JD3 grip from Jaeger Archery, onto this bow. It fits up perfectly. They also Novaery includes a shim in here, and you can shift your grip left and right, and it also can be totally removed, so you can kind of fit as many aftermarket grips as possible on this riser. So really forward thinking, and from my understanding, because the JD3 grip fits, it should be like the standard Hoyt grip bolting pattern, which I think a majority of the companies follow. Of course, you can always double check on Novaery's website for additional information on grips. Now, in terms of how the grip feels, because it's SLS 3D printed, I think it feels pretty great. I could see how you may want to add some grip to it. It's a bit grippy right out of the factory, but you could definitely rough it up a bit or add some tennis tape. The material itself actually is pretty neat. It actually just kind of wouldn't say absorbs the water, but if it rains, the water is just going to kind of seep through it, because the holes, even though they're microscopic, are big enough for the water molecules to just kind of drain through it, like you would have like rocks in a ditch or something. That water is just going to drain through that first and kind of get out of your way, which is nice, because then you're not going to get a buildup of fluids that's going to interfere with your hand making a nice solid contact with the grip. So there's none of those, you're up at full draw and you're like, why do I feel like I'm sliding off of this thing? But you know, if it's still not grippy enough, you can rough it up. You can go and add some tennis tape to it. It's definitely adjustable. Now let's get into everybody's favorite part, and that is the tunability of a bow. Everybody loves bow tuning day, or week, or month. But Novaery here does do some real special things. Their flat system is pretty neat, and it takes elements from other companies, and they also add in a lot of their own. So this whole section is quite adjustable. Your limb bolt actually pivots forwards and backwards so that it lays nice and flush with your limb. But your limb alignment back here also pivots so that everything again lines up nicely. The limb alignment bolt up here also has shims, so you can shim it left and right, which is going to affect your limb alignment left and right. But you can also adjust the alignment of the limb bolt down here left and right, because that's kind of on a, not quite a dowel system, but that's also adjustable. Massive amount of adjustment. I think you could make any kind of limb work for you, and you could probably solve basically any alignment problem too, unless your limbs are like completely out of spec. I don't see why you couldn't get them to align with this riser. And Novaery does a really good job on their website illustrating exactly how all these pieces work. And yeah, my experience with it was great. It's also really awesome that they added some indication lines on the top of the limb bolt here. So if you want a half a turn, you got an extra thick line here. You can just move that, you know, half a turn or a quarter turn, and you're good to go. My experience setting it up with all of these adjustments was actually really easy. You would think if you add a whole bunch of extra stuff in a way, because most bows you can move, you know, like 2 things plus the limb bolt in and out. Here you kind of have 4 to 5 adjustments. More like 5 adjustments if you count the limb bolt moving in and out, including left and right and up and down. I think it was actually easier to adjust than bows with less adjustments, which was surprising to me, because again, more parts, more adventures. But no, it worked really well, and it made it really easy to get everything set up and going. I saved a lot of time there. Another nice thing about this bow, pretty long clicker plate. At least in my experience, it's a pretty long clicker plate. That's nice to have. You don't have to then use a clicker extension as often, even though, you know, the biter one's pretty nice, or some of the ones that mount onto your sight aren't bad, but it's nice to be able to keep everything still on the bow. Shibuya arrow rest fit great. The only thing I could knock this bow on is it would be nice if the arrow rest just went into the bow like it does on the Veritune plates for a lot of the Hoyt flagship bows, but it's not the end of the world. I honestly think it probably barely makes a difference unless you're like really bad at sticking on arrow rests. But like, you just align it up and make sure everything looks nice and level. You know, it's pretty easy. But that would probably be the only thing. It's like, well, if they could add that in, that would really put it over the top, because everything else, in my opinion, is really well made. And even how the bow shoots, it shoots great. It's easily in line with any of the flagship bows from, you know, big name companies that I've shot bows from. In some aspects, it feels like it's actually more solid, and not in a rigid way. It feels better. It feels like it's better made, and you know, that could be the fact that, you know, they're not making, you know, they're not doing a mass production of these, so they're not prioritizing maybe churning out, you know, thousands of bows and making a certain dollar amount. You know, they're trying to build you the best riser possible, and they're not super worried about, you know, quotas and everything else. Another interesting thing about this bow is all of your screws and bolts, they're all Torx. Yes, you're gonna have to use Torx. It's kind of nice because you don't have to worry about confusing metric and imperial, you know, because sometimes the size is close enough, but then you end up stripping out the Allen key. Well, Torx, for the most part, solves that problem, and you probably shouldn't be stripping out your Torx. If you are, you might be doing something wrong. But that's pretty neat. They do also have a special tool for the limb bolt to help you adjust it even easier, because it does sit pretty flat in here, and if it's down in the riser some more, because you have the limb bolts all the way in, it'll help you, you know, adjust the limb bolt if you're trying to get a certain weight to your bow. Oh, and for the threading on the limb bolts, it's quite long actually. I think it's longer than most of the other name brand bows. If it's not longer, it's just as long, but you got a nice amount of play on the limb bolts, because I had to take one all the way out just to see. You know, how much limb bolt are we giving us? You know, because some companies run it, I feel like, really low, and you want a certain amount of threads. You know, you want like 4 threads or more to really grip into what you're screwing it into. You don't want anything pulling out. All right, so that pretty much wraps up all the little things and big things about this bow. There's kind of just 2 things left. One, I gotta shoot the bow for you guys. I've been talking about it all this time. You might as well hear it shoot. And one other thing is, would I buy it? And before I shoot it, let me tell you, would I buy this riser? Yes, it's a bit expensive, but again, you get what you pay for, unless it's a short shot archery product. I would buy one. I would consider buying one. If I needed a riser right now, I would definitely consider buying one. I'm not quite in the market for a new riser, but this would be a very strong contender, because I really do feel like I am getting a really solid value for the money. It seems like these people are really dedicated to providing you know, a high quality product, and I like that. I like how well thought out it is. I like all the adjustments, and it's a nice combination of 2 or 3 different bow brands stuff into a really well thought out system, plus their own little tweaks, because I'm not going to give all the credit to these other companies. Like, these guys really did think about this, and they definitely, you can see they put effort into it, and it works. With that, let me get into actually shooting this bow so you guys can hear it. Again, you know, it may differ a little bit depending on, you know, ILF formula and the kinds of stabilizers and stuff you run, but hopefully you can hear just how smooth and just how nice it shoots, at least for me. All right, so now for my favorite part of the video, actually shooting the bow. Shoots pretty good. It's really quiet too, and I don't think it's just from the stabilizers, because just the limited amount of vibration I'm getting through this is quite nice. So there you have it. Please check out Novaery at their website. I'll have it in the description down below, and any other social medias that Novaery has. I'll include those as well. Pretty cool archery company making some really great stuff. So can't wait to see more from them, and maybe try out some of their other products in the future. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. Please let me know what you think down in the comments section. And as always, thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe. And as always, happy shooting.